enforcing your half-penny sales tax for transportation. Now, many of you who know me also know that prior to my role here at the CITT, I worked for the great city of Coral Gables, which we affectionately call the City Beautiful for many reasons. And I had the pleasure and the privilege and the honor of working with two gentlemen at the city who are my guests today. One is an elected official, of course, Mr. Mayor, just fresh off his victory in his reelection, Mayor Vince Lago. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, sir. It's always an honor to be with you, and I'm so proud of everything that you've achieved and your leadership at the county. Thank you. Thank you for serving us on the CITT.
Well, thank you. You know what? We're going to end there on a good note. Thanks for, no, just kidding. So my other guest is on the professional side of the equation at the city, Matt Anderson, who is an assistant director for sustainability and mobility with the good city of Coral Gables. Matt, welcome.
Thank you, Javier. Excited to be here.
It was so great working with you guys. I think you were maybe vice mayor, but certainly commissioner at the time that we worked together. And a number of initiatives that you worked on and that you championed are initiatives that Matt kind of then ran with and implemented. So I love having you guys here together. You're both committed not only to mobility, but also to sustainability, as your title implies. So, Mr. Mayor, first of all, before we get to all of that, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my background is pretty simple, as I've shared on many occasions. My background is in engineering and construction management. I have a construction management firm that really focuses on housing, school board work, educational work, and medical work throughout the state of Florida. We've expanded outside of the Tri-County area. Like you said, I've been serving now for the last 12 years. I just got reelected a few weeks ago. Thank you to the residents for your trust and faith. It was an overwhelming win. It was a mandate. And we're heading in a new direction in the city, a very positive direction, a direction with real focus, real leadership, drilling down on issues that are important to the city of Coral Gables, like, for example, transportation, sustainability, fiscal stewardship, understanding that parks are the lifeblood, trees are the lifeblood of our community, understanding that what is our brand and how do we protect our brand, not getting away from what has made us the city beautiful. And that all starts and ends with our incredible employees. At the end of the day, the commission can lead. The commission can implement legislation. But if it's not addressed, if it's not drilled down, if it's not brought to the community by our incredible employees, from the person who picks up your garbage behind your house and your recycling, to the person that's implementing, for example, Matt, transportation and sustainability issues in the city. Everybody has a role, and it's truly what has made the city beautiful, in my opinion, in the opinion of many, the shining city on a hill in Miami-Dade County.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And kind of progressing on so many fronts. You're hitting your 100 years, or you have hit your 100 years. Congratulations.
This month.
That's a huge milestone, and so much history to be proud of, including the historic architecture that defines the city. And yet the city is also very future-facing, right? You're not afraid to take on challenges, and you're leading on many issues, particularly on mobility and sustainability. So, Matt, tell us a little bit about what you do. I believe that you fall under the parking department, but parking is only one thing that the department and you do.
Yeah.
Tell us about your role.
So for the first 8 years, I've been with the city now a decade, 10 years. Started out as the
10
city's
years.
10 years.
Wow.
So
Gotta pin 'em.
Yeah, we got to pin them.
I started in the public works department as the city's first sustainability professional. One of my first meetings I had when I joined was with the mayor. And I'll always remember it because as soon as we started the meeting, he wanted to know what my ideas were. Mm-hmm. And every meeting I've had with him since then has always been, it's awesome, we're accomplishing these things, what's next? And that's the excitement of working for a city like Coral Gables, is we're always trying to push the envelope, right? To see what we can accomplish that'll bring a better quality of life to our residents. And for us, it's not only about focusing on our current residents, but our future generations. I think we're both fathers to young girls, and making sure
all three of us.
Yeah. Exactly.
Dads.
So for us, it's always thinking about, it's honoring our 100-year history, but what's thinking about what the next 100 years in Coral Gables is going to look like, right? And that's touching on sustainability. So long story short, 2 years ago, I was offered an opportunity to move from our public works department to our parking, mobility, and sustainability department and bring my program over with me. And also start overseeing our transportation, which involves the trolley, freebie, and the micromobility program within our city.
And if I may add, because he's very modest on things that, obviously mentioning the accomplishments. The city of Coral Gables, like you said, has led on many different fronts. So when I met with Matt on the idea of sustainability, there's always been this misconception that, it's like Republicans and Democrats, and Republicans don't care about the environment. Again, the environment doesn't belong to a party, especially here in South Florida. if you do not protect the environment, again, it will impact your bottom line.
Yeah. Quality of life.
Quality of life,
economy.
bottom line.
All of it.
You know, you're talking about water quality, you're talking about air quality, you're talking about the issues of open spaces, you're talking about your solar reflective index, you have less trees. What ends up happening, it's hotter. The city of Coral Gables is a model. So when I got elected, and I kind of got elected at the same time as Matt came in, about a year and change difference. I remember I was like, this guy's smart, he's a go-getter. I want to engage and I want to do some groundbreaking legislation. So what did we do? We started working. I installed solar on my house. I was one of the first elected officials in Miami-Dade County, potentially in the state of Florida, that had solar on their house. We did a program where if you install solar in your house, you don't pay any permit fees. We have an expedited permitting process. The city of Miami has a LEED ordinance for any building that's online or coming online and it's over 50,000 square feet. You have to fall into one of the LEED or equivalent tranches.
Right.
I said, let's do something better. Let's do 20,000 square feet and under. So we capture more of the buildings that are being built. Our footprint is more environmentally friendly. We're saving more water. We're saving more electricity, and we're setting an example. We worked on that legislation together. Let's build a model. Let's build a model where we put 0.5% of a percentage point on every permit that goes out in the commercial area, and let that go into a Parks Master Trust, which is going to produce over $25 million. That Parks Master Trust Fund has bought over 10 parks. And we're looking at one that I just spoke to the manager on the way here that could be an incredible, we could acquire this piece of property, adding on to an existing park. I could go on for hours talking about the things we've done for sidewalks, our tree canopy, acquiring parks, environmental stewardship, clean water, clean air. But it doesn't happen without a person like Matt. There could be a great idea, but even our best ideas come from the employees. I've had employees come to me, for example, there's a gentleman who doesn't work at the city anymore. He came up to me one day in open office hours and says, I have a pretty crazy idea. If you implement it, I think it'll be successful. His idea was in-home permitting. So we use an electric car. By the way, our city, through the leadership of Matt, and has the largest 100% electric car fleet of any city in the state of Florida.
Wow, that's great.
But listen to this. So yeah, it's great for the environment, but it's also great for the bottom line.
Yeah.
We were the first city that I'm aware of to bring an electric car for the police department. And now this week, I did a test drive of the new Blazers. We're buying 3 of them. It's coming to commission this week, where we're going to have 100% fully electric vehicles now in the police department. So you're saving money on gas. You're saving money on the idea of changing your oil, changing air filters, maintenance. They're quiet. And again, they're resilient. They're more sustainable.
You've also invested in charging stations, right?
Oh no, we have a huge charging network that he can talk to you about a little bit more. But the idea is that there's money, there's green in being green. So think about it. The more money you save, the more you can reinvest in the community and continue to really elevate the quality of life in the city, like you mentioned. So it's all about sustainability. I think there's a real nexus between the environment and actually the quality of life of the city.
Absolutely. And so you came to mobility through sustainability.
Correct.
So describe that connectivity, right? How mobility can help the city be more sustainable through things like electric vehicles, but beyond. And what are some of the current services that the city offers? And finally, what major new initiatives are kind of on the horizon?
Sure. So there is a direct connection between mobility and sustainability. When we do our greenhouse gas emissions, cities are doing their greenhouse gas emissions. We've done ours 2013, 2017, and 2019. What's the largest sector that we have contributing to greenhouse gas emissions? Transportation. Yeah. That's similar to probably at Miami-Dade County. It's similar throughout the state, and it's been similar across the country. So we need to have a focus on how we can reduce emissions from transportation to have a large impact on reducing our overall emissions. And that's something that I know I sit in a very unique position, thanks to the leadership of the mayor and our city administration, our city commission, is I sit in a very unique position to be able to connect those two, because oftentimes your transportation, your sustainability are separate entities.
Right.
In our city, we're very unique that I am able to have a direct impact on both of those entities. So for us, that is critically important. And again, quality of life. Our city, we're a central city. We have a Miami-Dade County. There's a lot of people that cut through our city. Yeah. And that's something that is a point. I know that the mayor, hears that a lot from our residents and our businesses, right? So for us, it's about offering alternative transportation options within our community to incentivize folks and make it efficient and affordable alternative transportation for folks to utilize. So no better example than that is our trolley service in our city. Funny story about our trolley is our trolley has a very unique history in our city. We actually started in 1925 with 10 original electric trolleys that our founder, George Merrick, implemented within the city that actually traveled from Coral Gables to Miami. I think it was 5 cents to travel within the city and 10 cents to travel to Miami at the time. And those trolleys were in service for about 10 years. And then we brought the trolley service back in 2003. And we've been running that service. It's a very, very efficient service. We transport over 1 million passengers a year just on our Ponce corridor that runs from Douglas Station all the way north to Flagler. And what I love about our transportation service is it is efficient and it's affordable, right? It's free. Thanks to the support of the CITT in Miami-Dade County and the funding that we're able to receive from you all and our incredible partners at FDOT and the TPO. We couldn't do this without all the entities working together and having that type of support. So for us, we run on 8 to 12 minute headways on our trolley service, which is incredible,
It's
right?
impressive.
Yeah.
It is. And for us, it's about making sure that we can move those 1 million passengers and that growing demand that we have on alternative transportation efficiently throughout our community. And that's important to us because we don't, especially it gets hot in the summer here in South Florida. We want to be able to move our passengers efficiently, get them to their destinations on time, and have it be a reliable and efficient form of transportation for folks. And another program that we have in place that we've had since 2017, which we started, you were involved in it when it started in 2017, was Freebie.
Right.
We were, I believe, the second city to implement
Second,
Freebie.
Key Biscayne got ahead of us by a couple of months.
So we've been implementing Freebie in the city, and it is a good first and last mile connectivity to our trolley service, right? So our trolley service mainly runs north and south on Ponce. Freebie has a little more east-west connectivity, so it does allow
Or
our
downtown circulate.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and that's where we concentrate our services is in our core downtown. That's where we have our greatest density, and so having these types of services that again. And what we work with Freebie on is making sure that the wait times, the average wait time, is consistent with what our headway times are on our trolley. So making sure that 10 to 12 minute is the average wait time on the Freebie service. So just making sure that all of our services are reliable and efficient for folks, so it incentivizes them. Why do I want to use my car when I have a service that can get me to my destination just as fast?
And Mr. Mayor, how does all this tie into the city's kind of larger economic development efforts? I mean, obviously, to me, economic development, land use, and transportation are like the three legs of a stool, right? That really prop up and create a great city. So what are some of the tie-ins there in terms of not only maintaining a very strong business environment here in Coral Gables, but continuing to grow it?
It's a great point that you make, and tying it into the environment and tying it into transportation it shows you where the city's moving.
Yeah.
40% of our tax base is made up of residents and the businesses in the downtown. So give it some thought. If we didn't have a vibrant, thriving downtown, if businesses like FIFA, who just moved into the city in preparation for the 2026 World Cup, Apple, who just moved in, Ryder, and there's a few other ones that are that I'll be interviewing in the few months where we compete with the city of Miami to attract them here. City National is now moving all their headquarters here to the downtown. They just announced. The reason why they're doing that is because they want true quality of life. What delivers on quality of life? Is it public safety? 100%. Mm-hmm. We now have a dedicated squad of police officers just for our downtown. We're no longer robbing Peter to pay Paul, where if there's an issue in the downtown, we have to call police officers from the neighborhoods. That's no longer an issue. So safety is number one. It's paramount. Number two, I really think it's the issue of cleanliness. I think it's an issue where our downtown has to be clean. It has to be landscaped. We re-landscaped our medians. We're now, when I got elected 12 years ago, we only had one park in our downtown, Pond Circle Park, which is now going to be renovated in the next 6 months. Now, through the leadership of the commission, I've been dealing with developers and negotiating with developers. We're now going to have 7 new parks in the downtown. That defines a world-class city, in my opinion. If you look at, I just came back from Paris. I went on a family trip. We hadn't gone on a trip in a long time. And you're in the downtown of Paris, you see these beautiful little parks that are hidden, these little nooks. That to me is what defines a beautiful, world-class downtown. But I think also transportation plays a huge role in it. So if you don't have a driving force, like a tax base like we have in our downtown, we'd be paying a lot higher taxes as residents, significantly.
Or receiving fewer services.
Oh, and reviewing fewer services, for sure. But our tax base is the second lowest. Our tax rate is the second lowest for a full-service city, Miami-Dade County. And it's only able to be accomplished by our vibrant downtown. So when you talk about transportation, for example, Matt was mentioning our trolley. We used to have a trolley 5 days a week. Through legislation that I wrote, we extended it to Saturday. We were hesitant. We were hoping for just some sort of ridership. the ridership has gone through the roof.
Right.
That means that people are looking to move into our downtown, live in our downtown. They're looking to be engaged. They're looking to be active, to use the process. He also mentioned freebie. Let me tell you, I was skeptical, even though I'm the one that brought the legislation. I was skeptical because I didn't know. It was brand new legislation. It was a brand new process. Through the leadership of Claudia Moreau and her team, they've done an incredible job. Look, they just put brand new cars. We went from having little golf carts.
Yeah.
Which
were cute, but there were limitations.
They were cute. Again, they weren't the most. I had concerns on safety.
Sure.
But again, we evolve, right?
Yeah.
We always evolve. And now we're talking about Tesla vehicles, the most beautiful Tesla vehicles. And I get calls all the time about people who enjoy them. And especially our older residents. They really enjoy that type of service. And it allows us to have an answer for a lack of infrastructure. We all know it. You know it, Mr. Executive Director. Here in Miami-Dade County, we've suffered from a lack of infrastructure. We're trying to catch up right now. We're gangbusters, the county commission, the mayor, everybody's pushing the TPO. But we got to address the issue now while we wait for the transportation to come online. So the freebie is a prime example of an alternative mode of transportation, which delivers. It delivers and allows us, instead of having to spend huge amounts of infrastructure, we can plug and play immediately. So that's a service that's been really, really, really good for us, and the residents have enjoyed it. It's not free; it costs money. To the residents, it's free, but at the end of the day, it's something that again has really, really garnered a lot of support in the community.
And then you're one of the few cities. So a lot of cities run some kind of trolley or on demand or both. Although you were the first in many ways, but you're unique in that you also run a third. We'll call it microtransit service. And that is with Bird, something many cities have shied away from because of certain challenges, but you've managed to do it and do it well. Tell us about that.
So we, through the leadership of the commission, we started a pilot program in 2018 with both Bird and Spin to introduce electric scooters into the downtown area and use it as another form of transportation that folks can utilize to get really that connectivity. What we talk about in transit, right? First and last mile. How do you get folks to those transit locations, right? And what we're seeing is, and we put a lot of safety measures into place. To the mayor's point, safety is the number one priority, both not only for the users of the scooters, but also our pedestrians that are walking on our sidewalks. Right. So what we've done in the city is we've limited the amount of scooters that can be deployed in the city. Right now, the cap is 200, and it's mainly deployed in the core downtown area. We've also put in no ride zones. So we worked with, now Bird is our primary company that's working within the city, and they have one staff member that's dedicated, that is going around all throughout the day rebalancing scooters, making sure they're not ending up in locations they shouldn't be. But also we've implemented geofences within the city. So Miracle Mile, Giralda Plaza, our heavy pedestrian activities areas in the city, we've geofenced that. So if one of the scooters enters that area, the throttle will not work on the scooter. And they receive an audible warning saying you need to return to a non-geofenced area. So those are ways that we're trying to implement, and also implementing when users are signing up to rent the scooter, they're seeing a whole list of safety procedures that they need to follow. We've also geofenced our parking garages, so nobody can enter our parking garages with the scooters. We've also implemented recently slow ride zones around all the schools throughout Coral Gables. And so it's putting those safety measures in place that have allowed us, and working with a really good vendor in Bird, to be able to make sure that those another alternative transportation options is as safe as it can be within our city. And then what you're seeing now too is it's not just the rental scooters. You're seeing a lot of private scooters that folks are utilizing, that are using it as a form of transportation to get to their destination, whether it's to work or whether it's to run an errand. You're seeing a lot more activity. I'm seeing it along the Underline where our trolley office is at. You're seeing a lot of activity both from UM students and from just general residents or visitors to the city.
And they take up a lot less room on something like a Metro Rail or Metro Bus than a bike, right? So the bicycles, of course, are another form of first, last mile connectivity. So actually, let's talk about that because that's a good segue. So the city is so beautiful and so well shaded that it lends itself to biking. When I was biking to work pre-COVID, I'd go through the city, and it was the most pleasant part of my ride because of the canopy. Now, a problem we have countywide is lack of protected bike lanes. So it could be dangerous to be in mixed traffic. You don't want them on the sidewalk. And I would imagine it's the same issue even with the scooters, right? It would be helpful to have them off the sidewalk where they're interfering with passengers, but not in traffic,
correct,
where it's a danger to themselves. So what is the city doing to promote, I guess, bike micromobility lanes, protected lanes?
So, I mean, our public works department is the one that's been spearheading that effort. I know that they've looked at locations. I know a big thing in our community with whatever we do is getting community input, right?
Absolutely.
Having community meetings, having our residents and our business owners engage.
You have a very engaged citizenry in Coral Gables. Very educated and informed. So they keep you on your toes, right?
And that's the beauty, again, another uniqueness of our community, right? Is our residents are very involved in everything that's going on in the city. Right. So for us, it's always going out and getting that community input and that community buy-in, right? And getting how we design our parks to how we structure our transportation system to, issues such as bikes, right? And talking and how we can implement. And now, obviously, we all know the underline is getting completely redeveloped. I know that, the mayor, you've been a big champion of that, and you want to talk on that. That's going to be an incredible upgrade within the city down along our main corridor along US 1. In our city right now, I believe we have over 10 miles of bike lanes, and our tree canopy does lend toward a pleasant experience to be able to walk or bike throughout our city. So I don't know, Mayor, if you want to talk about the underline.
I think one of the key places for bike lanes, in my opinion, is in the downtown. We have to find a way to intersect the city through the downtown. And we talked about putting them in Andalusia. I think Andalusia is going to be a great opportunity to cut through the city, especially as we start working on our mobility hub, our new fancy word for our park.
Mobility hub is back?
Well, we hope to bring it back. It's needed. It's needed. I'm getting
absolutely.
a lot of I don't want to say complaints, but I'm getting a lot of calls in regards to the lack of actual parking. Mm-hmm. What happens? Our city grows from 51,000 residents during the day to over 125,000 people during the day. I mean, a lot of people come here to conduct business, to shop, to enjoy themselves. So we have an issue with parking. We have two seriously old, aging infrastructure parking garages on Andalusia that have to be either remodeled or they have to be rebuilt. And in my opinion, I think it's best to spend the money on building a brand new structure that meets today's needs, because those are very outdated.
Yeah. You're going to do it right.
Yeah. And when you talked about the residents are very vocal. I don't have an issue with bike lanes, but some people are concerned about bike lanes and how it will affect the median and how it will affect the areas adjacent to their properties. So we have to find that with the thread, that needle, right. And like sidewalks. Certain people don't want sidewalks. I'm a big advocate of sidewalks. And if you come by the city right now, I actually have an item on the agenda which will finally address two blocks of sidewalks that have been unaddressed for over 25 years, and they've been a point of contention, literally adjacent to a bridge on Alhambra. Mm-hmm. Those will be addressed in this commission meeting. And I realize we're not going to make everybody happy, but at the end of the day, we have to deliver on some sort of infrastructure, because I'm seeing people walking in the middle of the street with baby carriages, people who are elderly. We've got to do something that, again, meets the demand. You can see examples of that. If you go to University Drive right now in the city, if you go to Blue Road, adjacent to University and Blue Road, there's two bridges that meet on Granada. There was never any sidewalks there. I worked on that project. That's a project that I worked on for the last 4 years, and we just brought it to fruition last month. And if you keep going up Blue Road, we have a new park that's under construction adjacent to Biltmore Drive. That right there will have the connectivity of the park, the two bridges. University Drive has been done, and now we're going to start working on Granada. As the residents see these sidewalks, even ones that did not buy in to having sidewalks in front of their homes, they see the value. They understand that it's not just about myself or yourself, it's about the broader community. So we got to really think, we got to think big in regards to bike lanes. We got to think big in regards to sidewalks, and do it in a way that minimizes the impact. I'm all about less concrete. I'm all about less asphalt, but in certain areas, infrastructure is really a necessity. You got to be practical. So I think the downtown is ripe and ready to go for some bike lanes, some protected bike lanes, something that, again, meets the demand. And our downtown is going to continue to grow. It's where everybody wants to be. It makes sense. And it's a great place to live, work, and play.
It is. And you mentioned big thinkers. And one of the big thinkers I think we all know is Meg Daly. She's a city resident.
Huge.
Great idea for this underline. But she needed some early believers and champions. And I know you were one of those. So when I was at the city, I was trying to get the city to support the underline. There was a lot of hesitation, right? There was dollars that had to be committed. But you came through and championed that. And today, that phase of the underline is being built. Do you have an update on that by any chance?
I do. No, I do. And it's funny because I called Meg this morning to catch up with her on some other issues, because we're going to do a walkthrough of the new dog park that is being finalized.
Looks great, by the way. I just drove.
No, it's amazing.
I love the hill with the tunnel. I'm like, I haven't seen that one before.
It's amazing. And there was a lot of people who didn't believe in it. They didn't believe in it. I understand it. It's tough. It's an area that's been underutilized, abandoned for the last 20 plus years. And Meg Daly comes along, a resident, brilliant woman, saying, I have an idea. We can do something like the High Line. We can do something that is transformational. You're talking about 10 miles of infrastructure. We can barely handle to do sidewalks, and you want to do 10 miles of infrastructure through multiple cities and jurisdictions.
Right. And high quality. She started lobbying, meeting, building relationships with staff, respecting staff's position, meeting with the elected officials. And like I say all the time when I speak, who can say no to Meg? Honestly. it's hard.
And who can say no to her father, her late father, who was an amazing attorney, person who would call me once in a while and make sure that I knew where I was wrong and where I was right, and what I needed to do to make sure that we addressed issues. I respect that because he's an accomplished individual who has always led by example. He's a person in this community who has always done things to benefit the community first. Yeah. And Meg came to me and said, look, you have 3 miles of underlying possibilities here in the city. We need to fund this via partnership with the city. So I wrote a piece of legislation with the manager, and my colleagues gave a lot of input, and staff. Matt was instrumental in that. And we were using impact fees within 1,000 feet of the underline. And we were able to commit to spending around $7 million for the underline. And that money was there. And
so
now you're seeing
no burden on the taxpayers.
No burden on the taxpayers.
Through developers.
Yeah, same thing like the parks that you're seeing, the 10 parks in the 10 or 12 parks in the residential neighborhoods, no burden to the taxpayers. Yeah. Again, the same thing you're seeing in downtown, the 7 to 8 parks that are forthcoming. I'm working on one more right now. No burden to the taxpayer. We got to build partnerships that deliver on world-class infrastructure. It's not only about getting out there. By the way, I have to admit, this infrastructure benefits me. I live next to University of Miami. We're talking about maybe 5-6 blocks from me. My girls, I want to take my girls there. It raises property values. You're talking about getting people who have potentially never engaged in outdoor activity. As more and more kids, all they do is they want to be on their phones. That's a battle that we have constantly. Myself, my wife, and I imagine every family has that. You want to take them to a place that is amenity rich, like the underline. Get them out, get them engaged. You're going to have pickleball courts. You're going to have a dog park. You're going to have a skate park. You're going to have so many opportunities for people to get out of the house. God forbid, sweat a little, right? Work out, meet neighbors, meet friends, build new relationships. And I think that is, as a person who works out every single day, I don't only work out for my personal health, but I work out for my mental health. Yeah. And I think getting out there is critical. Ride a bike, meet somebody new, play a pickleball game with somebody who you've never had a conversation with. You could build a lifelong relationship. You could find a partner, whatever that may be. And I think that's critical. And we've become too entrenched in TVs and the phones and work where we don't get out enough. And when you get out enough, you know what? And I don't want to overspeak, but when you get out, you build a true respect for what makes Coral Gables and what makes Florida special. The environment, the Everglades, the outdoors, things, the fish, the water, the corals, everything that sometimes we don't get to see. That's why I push my kids so much. We're going to go out there, we're going to engage. We're going to try to, engage with the environment because we have a treasure here in South Florida. We have to protect it. And I think that I think that the underline is, and I've never said this before, I think the underline is a portal, an opportunity for people to say, oh, this is how majestic this is beautiful. With all the noise of the Metro Rail, you can still get a lot of buy-in to preserve the environment that we live in. So
absolutely. You're taking a great city and make it even greater, right? And I know you're not resting on your laurels. You already have so much to be proud of, but I know, Matt, that you and the rest of the team at the city and the elected officials are looking forward, not one to rest on your laurels. So what is on deck? What are some of the major initiatives and the expansion of the transit system, anything related to mobility or sustainability that you?
So one thing that we're talking about now, and I know thanks to the support of the CITT, we've been meeting with both the University of Miami, the county, DTPW, and the amazing team there, and South Miami on seeing how we can connect. Right? How can we connect our city to the city of South Miami and to UM's our largest employer in the city. How can we offer additional services? I've also worked with the county on a couple years ago extending their Metro Connect program that they run. The Dadeland North Zone runs within our city, so we worked together with the county.
So that's the county's version of Freebie, right?
Correct.
Their
Yeah.
on-demand service.
Will you also touch upon the fact that a few years ago we connected with the city of Miami?
Yes.
Will you talk about that? Because I think it's
Yeah.
important people understand that get some
and
ridership in that.
and that to me is also a crucial point of transit, right? You want it to be efficient, reliable, but you also need to have connectivity,
Yeah.
right? So for us, connecting with our partners at the city of Miami, the city of South Miami, connecting to the county's transit services, the Metro Rail, DTPW and their bus service, making sure that our transit services are filled any gaps that there are that folks can, again, main goal for folks, getting them to their destination as efficiently as possible, right? So we have been having conversations with both UM and South Miami, and I think you'll probably see something coming down the pipe here on expanding our trolley service to now run down potentially Ponce in front of UM and over maybe toward 57th Avenue and bring that services. So then now what's happening? We're seeing an expansion of our, I would call it our southern business district, and making sure that our residents on the south end of US 1 can then connect to our core downtown, right? And bringing folks back and forth between those areas. And again, connecting the students at UM and having them have options to be able to get to our downtown.
So what you're seeing is, for example, the area of Merrick Park, you're seeing now the underline being delivered in the next few months. You're seeing 2 new buildings being built, which is going to house UBS is moving to the city. You're seeing major Fortune 500 companies coming to the city of Coral Gables, offering employment to the kids graduating from UM. People can ride the trolley up and down the spine of Ponce, catch the freebie to connect to the library, go different areas. I would love nothing more than to extend our trolleys to South Miami. I've talked to the mayor, Javi Fernandez, is doing an amazing job, who's really focused, drilling down on issues and connecting us. I've never had a better relationship with West Miami, South Miami, Pinecrest, City Miami. One of the projects that I worked on with Matt was the mayor of Miami. He wasn't even the mayor back then, was he? Francis?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think he was commissioner.
He said, Vince, a quick question. Your trolleys don't connect with our trolleys. People have to get off your trolley and then walk 2 blocks to our trolley. Why is that? I said, I have no clue. I didn't even know there was an issue. So then I started speaking to some of the residents, and our trolley didn't even go across US 1.
Right.
So what we did at that point was we had a few meetings between staff from the city of Miami and the city of Coral Gables. We sat down in a room. We treated it like a private sector venture. And we said, guys, we got to cross US 1. We'll meet you halfway. So when you talk about Grand Avenue, now we're connected. When you talk about Coral Way, now we're connected. When you talk about 8th Street, now we're connected. Why is that important? You probably think anybody can walk 2 blocks, but why should an elderly person have to walk 2 blocks at the end of the day? People who depend on this type of transportation. The transportation should be efficient, should be clean, and should be a pleasant experience. And that is, speaking for the city of Coral Gables, what you get in the city of Coral Gables. It is an opportunity for people to, when they get off that trolley, say, you know what? I'm going to talk to people about the trolley. That's why when Freebie upgrades their vehicles and it's clean, it's leather seats, you're having a great experience with the person driving you, that incentivizes people to say, you know what? I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to ride this trolley. So, that's why I think that this type of transportation has to be free. And the CITT plays a critical role for us in making sure that we keep this free. We subsidize it a little bit, especially the trolley. But at the end of the day, without the CITT and the county, I don't think we'd be as efficient as we are today.
And we need to get that story out, right? Because
Of course, 100%.
occasionally there are attempts at the state level and others to kill the halfpenny or sunset it, and that would just be disastrous.
Listen, and if
for
I
our
may,
county.
Mr. Executive Director, and I'm happy you brought that up, and I don't want to interrupt you, but
That's all right.
I want to touch on that point. The CITT plays a critical role here in our community. Okay, am I, just sometimes I get a little bit dismayed about our transportation. 110%. I can tell you issues that I disagree with my colleagues at the county or at TPO, but there's a way of doing things. We don't throw the baby with the bathwater. At the end of the day, we have to do things the right way. And I think we're headed in the right direction. I would love to get there. We're Thursday. I'd love to be delivering transportation to Kendall, to Homestead, to the areas in the north, Miami-Dade College, FIU, but it's going to take time. This is a world-class city. We're expanding. We didn't, maybe we didn't do we should have done the transportation first, but we're doing what we got.
Right.
And I think that when you add the trolley and you add the freebie and you add that micro mobility, it meets the demand of these pockets. Now, like what Matt said, if we can connect our pocket, which is the city of Coral Gables, with South Miami, with West Miami, with Pinecrest, then you're going to see, as I remember, like Rebecca Sosa told me one time, if we don't have the infrastructure in place, we have to utilize the trolleys to meet the needs. And I think the trolleys are the answer. The trolleys are the answer to deliver transportation and get people out of cars. Again, reducing the environmental impact. And now we're going to start looking at, hopefully, we've been looking at it for the last 3 or 4 years, but they just haven't met the need and they haven't been as efficient as we would deem appropriate. And that is electric trolleys. Mm-hmm. We've done sampling, we've done test drives. I will not. I actually had one brought to me in the city. And after a little bit of digging, I found out that it was fabricated in China. I will not purchase anything made in China. I've written legislation that is very clear that we need to buy American-made products.
Right.
Now more than ever, we need to support this great country. Mm-hmm. We need to support each other, support Europe, support our allies. And I think that when you're talking about making a multi-million-dollar investment in a trolley, we need to buy American-made, German, European, South American, Canadian, but we cannot support adversaries like China. So I know you don't want to talk politics, but politics is intertwined.
Sure.
Because you can get a trolley today. Because then people will call me, hey Vince, the other cities, or I saw an electric trolley. Yeah. I say, yeah, well, I've seen it. We've done the research. Matt and I have been going. How long have we been talking about this, man?
For at least 4 or 5 years.
And I get people who once in a while, like maybe every few months, say, hey, why don't you have electric trolleys? And I said, well, you guys are so environmentally conscious with your fleet. You have solar on your house. You drive an electric car, Vince. You have the largest charging network. You require the lead ordinances are the strictest in the state of Florida. I could be talking about this year. You have over 300 acres in parks, but your trolleys are gas. That doesn't make sense. So we're working on finding a solution, which I think will change the game here in the city. And we want to lead, but we want to do it the right way. It's a big investment.
Yeah, and the city has always led on innovation and technology. And I have to give a shout out to Raimundo Rudolfo, who's the head of
that guy's the man. He's the man.
He's a genius. And really the city, as in many other areas, is taking the lead on smart city, innovation and bringing technology to everything you do. And that includes, transit and mobility. Yeah. For instance, I understand that you're even exploring hydrogen vehicles potentially.
Yeah.
Are we really that close to that technology?
We're pushing the industry, right? We want to, I think what is unique about our city too, our residents and the users of our transit system love the aesthetics of our trolleys. Yeah, right.
It's iconic.
It symbolizes.
Now everyone has them, but yours is the first, and I still think I would say it's the prettiest. I apologize to among other cities, but it was well designed.
But it is well designed. But for that uniqueness, there are only certain manufacturers that we can go to that can produce that type of trolley for us. So we're continuing, and trust me, I'm having routine conversations with the manufacturers on, guys, come on, we need to push the industry, whether it's electric, whether it's green hydrogen. We need to look at what options are available to us to be able to produce exactly what the mayor's saying, a cleaner form of transportation. Because right now we're running on we have a fleet of 12, they're diesel trolleys, right? So we're trying to push the industry. And also you alluded to it earlier. We have some of the largest charging infrastructure already within our city supporting clean transportation for folks, with supporting their electric vehicles. We have over 58 charging ports. And with the potential mobility hub and other projects we have coming online, we have another additional 100 charging stations potentially coming online in the next couple of years. So being able to support not only the transit side, but also when folks need to utilize their single occupant vehicle, they can use a clean form of transportation via an electric vehicle, and having that infrastructure in place, which not only attracts people into our city, they're coming in to charge their vehicle. Guess what they're doing? They're going and visiting our local businesses and they're supporting our local economy.
It's all interconnected.
So I'm telling you, yesterday I made and at the end of the day, you could always walk in our downtown, which is why it's the most walkable downtown in South Florida. Yesterday I made a mistake. I was going to meet with a client for lunch. I thought it was at Hillstone and ended up being at Mika. I was at Hillstone, so I ended up walking all the way down Ponce. It was 4 blocks. In the middle of the day, 12 o'clock, I was in a suit and tie. It was a wonderful experience. I got there a little sweaty. Yeah. But you know what? I got a new appreciation. I didn't have to get in my car from City Hall to park on Miracle Mile or park in front of the plaza. And you're seeing that as you're walking. And I thought about our interview today. I thought, there's so many people in our community that are enjoying our city. It's just these little tweaks and refinements that at the end of the day will continue to push our city forward. And by the way, one of the things that I wanted to mention, because I know we're running short on time, it's your program and I don't want to take more of it.
Oh, please.
If you have an idea If you think about something that's outside the box, or you're traveling in South America, in Europe, in Asia, and you see something that's interesting that works in that municipality, that again takes it to another level of quality, bring it to the city of Coral Gables. I have open door Fridays for the last 12 years, every single Friday. Tomorrow I start at 2 o'clock and I end 5:30, 6 o'clock. Sometimes we've been there till 7:30, 8 o'clock. And it's an opportunity for you to meet with the mayor, front and center, no staff. You don't have to write me an email. You don't have to call me. You can
No appointment necessary.
No appointment necessary. We can talk about any issue you like. And a lot of the great ideas that I've been able to implement in the city with, honestly, with the amazing help of people like Matt, that have been brought to me by residents and staff members. Case in point, in-home permitting with an electric vehicle, that we do over 300 visits to homes every single year. And we do your permitting in your kitchen counter using an electric vehicle. Saving on trips, helping the elderly, war veterans, single parents, individuals that are sick. So again, the city's just trying to evolve in that. And I ask people to come and meet us on Fridays.
I don't know that anyone ever talks about it, but really what the city practices is a term I love, which is Kaizen, which is a Japanese concept of continuous improvement.
Yep.
And that's what I really most admire about the city is you could kind of sit back and say, hey, we're probably the best city in Miami-Dade County, but you don't. You continue to push the envelope. So I do want to thank you for that. And I know that will continue because your residents are demanding it, right?
They're demanding it. And I want to thank the CITT, the county commission, the mayor. But more important than anything, I want to thank my staff, which is not my staff. They work for the manager. But I want to thank staff like Matt, all directors, all the employees, our residents, for having faith and trust, for delivering on a vision, and for just working hard. They work hard every single day on behalf of the City Beautiful. So thank you for that, my friend. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you both. First of all, thank you for being on the program. I appreciate you making the very long trek from Coral Gables to South Miami.
Very close.
But more importantly, thank you for what you do. Thank you for being such wonderful public servants as an elected official and as a professional and really making a difference, not only in Coral Gables, but leading by example so that other municipalities in the county and other communities can follow your lead.
By the way, thank you to community newspapers. I forgot to mention.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're amazing. What they're doing, again, as newspapers and media changes, evolves every single day, they're leading by example. So community newspapers is a great resource for our community. Thank you.
They are. They really have, and we've talked about this, become like a town square.
Yeah.
Where our ideas are shared, on every topic known to man. But we wanted to make sure that people were also talking about mobility. So I'm really grateful to Community News as well for allowing me to host this program and having great guests such as yourself on. So
it's our honor. Thank you.
Well, folks, that's all the time we have here on Mobility Matters. You can join us here every other Thursday from 9:30 to 10:30. I believe up next in a couple of weeks, we'll have the mayor of North Bay Village. So completely different part of the county with some unique challenges of their own. So please stay tuned for that. In the meantime, if you're interested in learning more about us, you can visit our website at miamidade.gov/CITT. And again, as the mayor said, thank you to Miami's community newspapers for hosting and producing the program. See you next time.